Hi. When it comes to the spectrum management usage in US, uh, can you explain the situation to us? How do you foresee, for example, with the introduction of millimeter wave bands, licensed or unlicensed usage? How will it be in the era of 2020 and beyond? And is there any efforts from today towards the 5G networks?
It actually started almost 5 years ago with the National Broadband Plan, where there was a decision to allocate a very large swath of spectrum, more than 200 megahertz. And that's both licensed and unlicensed. And it's going to take more than 10 years to free all of that. A lot of that's being freed right now. In addition to that spectrum, there's also unlicensed spectrum in the millimeter wave that's being allocated. So very aggressively focused regulatory effort underway to clear spectrum that's currently being held or being used in other purposes for mobile broadband. And some of that will be used in 4G, but a lot of that won't be available or will be then refarmed for 5G.
There's a lot of fragmentation in spectrum usage. So if you had a chance to redesign this spectral resources again without the constraints of today, let's say for 5G networks in 2020, how would you do that? What would be your approach?
That's a great question. I think one of the things that we'd want to do is have continuous bands. And there's some effort underway right now to allocate that, like in the 5 gigahertz in the United States, primarily for unlicensed. The same sort of thing is trying to be done in terms of some of the lower spectrum for exclusive licensed. And that's what I would do. If I had to do it over, I would allocate much of the spectrum below 3 gigs to licensed and have much of the spectrum above, say, 5 gigahertz going toward unlicensed. And of course, there's other users, which, it's very easy for us to forget because what we focus on is mobile broadband, but there's many, many other users of the spectrum. So then we have to work around how they interact. And it would have been, if we could do it from scratch, what I would do is I would try to understand how radars, for example, and communications could cooperate. And you can't do that now because they've already all been launched. But if you could do it from scratch, if you could do it from the beginning, you could design parameters and you could design allocation models where they wouldn't be stepping on each other like we're seeing now.
So without any specific entity in the middle arranging all of those, or any licensing system, you mean?
Well, I would probably still have a licensing. In fact, in the United States, the problem isn't that isn't that the central authority is failing. It's that there's not a central authority. It's that there's two. That there's a federal group for federal spectrum, the NTIA, and then there's the commercial spectrum that's regulated under the FCC. If there could be a better coordinator of both of those, I think we would have more productive access to spectrum. And again, how spectrum allocation occurred in the piecemeal process over the last 100 years, that's also led to a lot of the fragmentation. If we could do it over again, we wouldn't have it that way. We wouldn't have had these allocations where they are. You'd be able to plan it out much more logically.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.